And so let's look at the guidelines then from that perspective. In this talk, we're emphasizing the method. And so you could easily get stuck on, well, I've got to do the method just right. But it's always a relationship. And that means, unlike certain other disciplines, if you don't do it correctly, it doesn't matter. It's a help if you do it correctly. But it doesn't matter because it's your intention that counts, and the relationship is with God. And God sees that you're trying hard to do a nice job, the best you can, however much you're stumbling. He's not going to hold your mistakes against you. He's looking at your love, and through another person or a book or eventually or through the inspirations of the Holy Spirit, you'll correct whatever mistakes you're doing. The main thing to do is to do it. The principal method of centering prayer really is to sit down. Now that isn't too hard for most people. Once you sit down, then the Spirit has sort of got you, especially if you're determined to sit there for the 20-25 minutes that you have agreed upon. And if you do that every day, then your mistakes or misconceptions will gradually evaporate. Doing it is the primarily discipline. But there's ways of doing it that could facilitate this sitting there. And so let's look at the guidelines. Now, the first guideline is choose a sacred word as the symbol of your intention to consent to God's presence and action within you. Notice, please, God's presence and action. So we're working with a dynamic relationship, a back and forth, an exchange, a conversation which has moved towards communion or is moving in that direction. The second little guideline is that sitting comfortably and with eyes closed, we settle briefly, like I'm settling in this nice chair, breathing easily and so on. And then after a few moments of not doing anything, just sort of settling, pausing, maybe 10 or 15 seconds of quiet, you introduce very gently, very casually, almost informally, the sacred word that you had chosen in the first guideline that symbolizes the consent of your will to God's presence and action within. They always go together. God is not a statue. He's not a static force within us. It's a loving relationship in faith, and hence God's Spirit can do all kinds of things and suggests all kinds of things, and He does. The third guideline is, when engaged with your thoughts, return ever so gently to the sacred word. Well, this is just to say, or acknowledge the fact that there are going to be various thoughts, feelings, sense perceptions, noise in the room, people coughing, memories, imaginations, visualizations, sort of dreaming. All of this psychological material, you might say, is going to be flowing down the stream of consciousness as you sit there. And we say that it's inevitable, integral, and normal. So this is a terribly important point to get through our heads if we've been trained in the doctrine of distractions, that distractions somehow are harmful or interfere with your prayer. Now, if you're doing discursive meditation when you're supposed to be thinking about something particular, then other thoughts are distractions, do interrupt your reflection and your prayer. But the centering prayer moves beyond that level of awareness. And it's designed to disregard the ordinary thoughts or activities of our psychological day-to-day awareness. So you're not on the level that you're usually on in discursive meditation. And hence, we just disregard this thought, or these thoughts which are more like noise in the street or background music at the supermarket that you put up with but pay no attention to. But it's important not to resist these thoughts. In other words, it's important to have a joyful attitude towards the thoughts, a friendly attitude towards the most dreadful thoughts. Not that you linger over them or act them out, but it's important that we expect them, and they're normal, and they're integral, and so we receive them all with a smile, sort of inward smile, so to speak. A jolly attitude is recommended. Here they go again, that sort of thing. Ha, ha, ha. Reason for that is that any emotional frustration or annoyance or distress or grief is not appropriate, because that is another kind of thought. Because it's emotionally charged, it's more of a hindrance to entering into interior silence, which is the proximate goal of this prayer, than any number of casual thoughts that go by. So as soon as you're annoyed, you have a second thought, which is much more disturbing than the first one. And so there really is great wisdom in taking for granted there's going to be lots of thoughts and endless thoughts, and that with practice you can disregard most of them. Finally, and there wouldn't be time in an introductory workshop to do this, but it's crucial to have some kind of follow-up. Some kind of follow-up. You can only say so much in a 6-hour workshop, and all that the ordinary person can get is barely to get the 4 principles. So it's very helpful to have some kind of like a 6 weeks program to follow it up, using either the first 6 tapes, if you've got those, or to read the 6 chapters out of Open Mind and Heart and study them together. That gives the principle.